Welcome along to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a bit special, a rugby obsession deep dive.
That's right.
And our mission, really, is to get to grips with that British and Irish Lions match against Argentina, the pre-departure one. We want to unpack it, but specifically through the eyes of Brian Moore.
Yeah, using his analysis.
Yeah,
Because, after a loss like that, the immediate reaction can be, well, pretty intense.
definitely.
So we're looking at an article from Planet Rugby. Lawrence Nolan laid out Brian Moore's firmest conclusions from that game.
Okay.
And what we want to do for you today is pull out the key takeaways, sort of understand the finer points of analyzing a match when emotions are high, and also really think about the just immense pressure on those players.
Exactly, that pressure cooker environment. And look, if this is the kind of deep analysis you enjoy, make sure you hit subscribe on Rugby Obsession. It's really the best way to stay plugged into all the smartest rugby chat.
Definitely worth it.
So let's dive in, the match itself.
Okay, so the setting was Dublin. And this wasn't, just any old warm-up. This was the pre-departure game for the Lions before heading off to Australia.
Huge stakes.
Massive. For a lot of players, probably their last real shot, maybe their only shot, to impress Andy Farrell before that first test squad gets picked. You couldn't really ask for higher stakes.
And the result, of course, a 28-24 loss for the Lions. A real nail-biter against Los Pumas.
It was tight. And the moment everyone remembers, the one that probably still stings for Lions fans, was Santiago Cordero's try.
Yeah, the converted try.
Exactly. That put Argentina ahead, and, well, they just managed to hang on till the end.
Frustrating. And what Brian Moore picked up on straight away, which is fascinating, is how quickly things can get sort of twisted after a moment like that.
He really identified this wave of what he called hyperbole and instant judgment.
Yeah, you saw it everywhere.
Especially aimed at one player in particular, a young guy.
Oh, absolutely. Henry Pollock, 20 years old, back rower. The spotlight just swung right onto him, didn't it?
It really did.
Mostly negative, focusing on that missed tackle that led pretty directly to Cordero's scoring. Social media, some pundits. It felt quite harsh, actually, given his age and the situation.
And Moore really pushes back on that. It raises that big question about fairness in analysis, doesn't it?
It does.
His firmest conclusion about Pollock was really clear. One missed tackle, okay, it was significant, yes, but it absolutely does not show some fundamental weakness in his game.
Right. It's not the whole picture.
Not at all. And crucially, Moore says it doesn't mean he's suddenly blown his chance with a test squad. He directly challenges that kind of knee-jerk reaction.
It's such an important point, especially in rugby where things happen so fast.
Yeah.
And Moore didn't just defend him vaguely, did he? He brought up something else from the same game.
Exactly. He pointed out that later on, Pollock actually made an outstanding turnover.
Which is vital context, isn't it? It balances the narrative. One mistake, however visible, isn't the whole story. Just like one great play doesn't guarantee anything either.
Precisely.
It makes you think, doesn't it? For you listening, how much weight should one mistake carry in that kind of high-pressure environment? Is it really fair to judge someone's test potential on a single moment like that? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
And this ties perfectly into Moore's second main point, which is all about that player dilemma. Yeah. The huge pressure these guys are under trying to impress Andy Farrell.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Very few games before that first test squad against the Wallabies is named July 19th. It's coming up fast. Every single second on that Mitch feels like an audition.
It's a massive challenge for them, isn't it? That feeling, that instinct to try and impress. It's completely natural. You want to show what you can do, catch the coach's eye, stake your claim.
Of course.
But, and this is where Moore's insight is so good, he explains how that very drive, that desire to do something spectacular, can actually backfire. It can lead to errors.
Yeah, you try too hard, maybe attempt something a bit too risky.
In the heat of the moment, in what Moore calls the maelstrom of a game.
Maelstrom. Great word for it.
And that's often when mistakes happen. It seems almost backwards, but it makes sense.
So his advice for the players is really practical, actually. He argues that the best way to press your claim for a test spot isn't necessarily by attempting the improbable.
Right. Not the Hollywood pass every time.
Exactly. It's better achieved by simply doing your job solidly, showing reliability, calmness under pressure, that consistent performance.
Especially on a Lions tour, you'd think. Trust and knowing everyone will do their specific job must be paramount.
Absolutely. Reliability is key.
So maybe the solid, dependable performance, the one without the errors, is actually more impressive to the coaches than one flashy moment mixed with mistakes. It makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
And Moore had a couple of other really firm conclusions from the Argentina game, too, didn't he? Things he felt were quite clear-cut.
He did, yeah. Beyond Pollock, he singled out two others. First, Ellis Genge.
Okay.
Moore felt Genge really confirmed his reputation, no doubts, both as a top-class scrummager and as a, powerful carrier. His performance spoke for itself.
Clear and decisive impact, then.
Yep. And the other was Marcus Smith. Moore acknowledged, okay, Smith can fill in at fullback.
Technically.
Technically, yes, but his firm conclusion was it is not his best position. Simple as that.
That's the kind of directness you expect from Moore, isn't it? No messing about.
Exactly. Just
Yeah.
This is what I saw. This is the conclusion. But, and this is really important,
Yes.
Moore himself adds a big note of caution. He says basically, beyond that, not much should be asserted with confidence.
Okay. So despite those firm points, he's wary of overstating things from just one match.
Precisely. He's highlighting how tricky it is to make huge, sweeping judgments based on 80 minutes of rugby, especially given the pressure, the specific opposition, the team dynamic, all of it.
It's a warning against overanalysis, really.
Yeah. Be careful about reading too much into isolated moments or single performances.
That caution feels really necessary, actually, when you think about the sheer volume of rugby chat out there. Moore's analysis is great, but it's one piece in this huge puzzle, isn't it?
Absolutely huge. You've got discussions about national teams, Argentina, Australia, England, obviously, then all the big clubs. Bath, Exeter, Leinster, the Stormers.
And the massive competitions, Super Rugby Pacific, URC, Premiership, Champions Cup. It's endless.
It is. So how does a specific, focused analysis like Moore's actually help fans, cut through all that noise?
Well, I think it shows how to engage with it, doesn't it? It teaches us to look past the instant headlines, the Twitter reactions, the emotional takes.
Whether it's about your club, like Bath, or a big international game.
Yeah. It's about applying critical thinking, waiting for that more considered view, digging a bit deeper than the surface level. This deep dive, focusing on Moore's points, is kind of a model for doing that.
Finding the real insight amongst all the fleeting opinions.
Exactly. And speaking of insight, if you're getting value from this deep dive and you want more smart rugby analysis delivered straight to you, please do hit subscribe on Rugby Obsession wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, join the community.
It really is the best way to make sure you don't miss out on discussions that genuinely try to, get to the heart of the matter.
Good stuff.
So let's just quickly wrap up the key things from today's deep dive. We had Brian Moore strongly defending Henry Pollock, reminding us that one mistake isn't everything, especially when you see brilliance later in the same game.
Yeah, crucial balance there. And we talked a lot about that pressure on players, that instinct to impress versus the need, maybe the better strategy of just doing your job solidly and reliably.
Definitely. Plus Moore's very specific conclusions on Ellis Genge confirming his status and Marcus Smith being played out of his best position.
And underpinning it all was a really important caution for Moore. Don't draw too many huge conclusions from just one game. Let the dust settle. Look for the considered analysis.
It really hammers home the value of looking beyond those instant, often emotional reactions in sport. Letting cooler heads, like Moore's, offer perspective. Which leads us to a final thought, something for you to maybe chew on after this. How do coaches, like Andy Farrell, actually do it? How do they balance that natural player instinct to impress, maybe overplay their hand, against the absolute need for solid, reliable performance, especially when they have so few chances to see them before big selections?
It's a massive challenge.
It really is. What does that tightrope walk tell us about judging performance, not just in rugby, but maybe in any high-stakes job or situation? It's a fascinating question, goes way beyond the sport itself.
It really does. A lot to think about there. Performance, pressure, judgment.
For sure. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive.
Thanks, everyone.
Please do subscribe if you haven't already. Join the conversation, and we will look forward to you listening to our next episode.